Maverick News, the antivirus program for your mind. And now, the Freedom Reporters.
Fighting the Great Reset by leading the Great Resistance. Maverick News, the antivirus programs for your mind.
Thank you. No, really, thank you both for doing all of this and helping us. You know, really, you're helping us build a movement. Is really what you're helping us do. That's what's happened. This is like the civil rights movement.
Right.
Really, it really resonated with what you said, that we're like the Underground Railroad.
We are.
That is what we are. And we're finding all of the best fighters for humanity, people who aren't going to be scared to take a few punches.
That's right.
Yeah, we're fighting to stop a nuclear war. Of course, we're going to be attacked. Of course, it's going to happen. But we have to have the courage. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I shall not be moved. You were talking about old spirituals of the civil rights movement. That was a popular one. I shall not be moved. Sing it with me. I shall not be moved like a tree planted by the water. I shall not be moved. I don't care how many times you censor me, YouTube. I don't care how many times you censor me, Facebook. You've done all that you can do. You've taken away my money, my income, my audience. You're doing everything you can to shut me up. You've done everything you can to shut up my guy, Robert Kennedy Jr. You've done everything you can to shut up Rick Walker and Anastasia and everybody in this movement. Our friend Scott Ritter, Diane Sayre, who was here earlier, when she was running against Chuck Schumer, they tried to keep her off the ballot. They shut her out of the debates. They would not let the woman debate him. Okay, and they're doing the same thing to Kennedy now. They're trying to shut us all up. So we are the Underground Railroad, and I don't care how many barriers you put in our way. We're going to keep going. As long as there's breath in my lungs, as long as I can talk, as long as I've got this microphone, I'm going to find a way to get this message out to the people. And I may have to get really creative about it. We're finding new ways, aren't we, Rick? Every single day to find new platforms, new ways to get the information out. It is the
smoke
Underground
signals,
Railroad.
bat signals, whatever it takes.
Carrier pigeons.
Yes.
Maybe you'll have to come out to a book table with us.
I would love to. And, you know, I'm out here in flyover country. I'm in the heartland of Oklahoma where, you know, nothing seems to happen here. It's not, I'm nowhere near New York. You know, you guys have invited me to all your events and I've so wanted to come. I'm unable to travel. I'm kind of stuck here. So I feel powerless sometimes. Like I wish I could be there. I wish I could afford to make the trip, but I can't. And so I'm doing what I can, sitting here in my little studio in my house, because I feel like I have to do something. And this is all I can do. This is the talent that God gave me. These are the skills I have as 35 years in journalism. Same with Rick. I mean, you know, he retired a long time ago from the mainstream media and said, to hell with this. I don't want to do this crap anymore. But events in the world made us both say we have to do something. We have to step up. We can't be silent about this. So we're doing it. You're doing it. And everybody needs to do something. Something. You can't just sit there and watch Taylor Swift videos.
But you can share this one.
Yeah. Because folks, if it's wartime and if the nuclear weapons start flying, there won't be a Taylor Swift concert. That'll be canceled. I promise. There won't be any concerts anywhere. There won't be any football games. There won't be any sports. None of it.
Yeah.
Netflix will be gone. I
That's
promise.
right. Won't be no Netflix and chill, baby. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, we sit here and we kind of laugh about it, but it is really that serious. And I think people have difficulty here in North America wrapping their heads around that because we've been insulated by the oceans. We've never had to deal with war in the same way that the same ways that they have in Europe and in Asia and even in Africa. We just haven't had to deal with it. We haven't had to deal with poverty on the same scale that they experience it in those other countries. And so I think for people here, war is like a movie, and we watch it on television. When you saw the war in Iraq or the war in Afghanistan, especially the Gulf War, the way they cover it, and even this war in Ukraine, the mainstream media, they stand there. It's like a sports event, and they get their graphics up behind them, and they put their little icons of the tanks up, and they move them across the screen, and they point, and it's no different than covering a football game for those guys. And I think when people watch that stuff, it's entertainment as much as anything else. And it's in this age where there's this giant psyop ongoing constantly, it's hard for people to distinguish even that from, what's real and what isn't. Is this really a war, or is it just a movie? Saving Private Ryan, is that reality, or is that truly history, or what is it in people's minds? It's a difficult thing to get them to grasp, to truly understand the real threat that's upon us. Even with the nukes, we've lived with, under the threat of nuclear war for so long that the current generations, I think they've become desensitized to it. I grew up in great fear of it. I think you guys probably as well. But younger people, they're being told, oh no, a limited nuclear exchange, we could win that. And I think they're buying it because they haven't really had that fear instilled in them. It's very concerning.
That a great point? There's hardly anybody left on this planet. If they are still here, they're very elderly, who remember 1945, who actually remember how the Second World War ended, who remember Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which is what this event is all about this weekend. We don't want another Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And by the way, the nuclear weapons we have today, at least 100 times more powerful than what we did in 1945 to those two cities in Japan. And you saw how many people died. Again, we still are counting the dead, but it was at least 225,000 souls lost. Is that about right? Is my number correct?
Yeah. No, that's about right.
And Rick and I, we're old. We're Cold War kids. So we grew up remembering that sword of Damocles over our heads. As little kids, we did duck and cover drills in our schools. We lived with movies on TV like The Day After, growing up in the 80s. Some of you out there know what I'm talking about. But if you're young and you were born after the end of the Cold War, say if you were born after 1991, you didn't get that experience. You really don't have that fear. And I'm not trying to scare you, but it's a healthy fear to have. Some fears are healthy.
When I was growing up, when I was a kid, there was an air raid siren. I could see it from our kitchen window. And once a year, they would come and test it.
Yeah.
That was a reminder that there was a real possible threat out there. And that was during the Cold War. And then one day, when I was a teenager, they came along and they took it down. And I said, what are they doing? and they decided they didn't need it anymore.
Right.
I disagree. Now, I don't know what people were supposed to do if the nukes were going to come and land on us. There really wasn't any place to go. I suppose if you're in an area where you don't get incinerated, you can take steps to protect yourself from the fallout. But nevertheless, the fact that they took it down was a milestone moment in my mind, where it was like people are just becoming way too comfortable with this situation. And that's where we're at today. And it's just become worse and worse and worse over time since that day that they took down that air raid siren just across the street from me. It's one of those moments in time that, it's burned into my brain that day.
Yeah.
And
I can
here we
imagine.
sit tonight having this discussion.
Do you guys think that we've had a false sense of security for the last 30 years since the end of the Cold War, that, oh, we don't have to worry about it anymore, everything's great in the world? Even though there are more nations that have nuclear weapons over the last 30 years than ever in our history, we weren't worried about the Russians anymore. But why the heck were we getting rid of our civil defense systems and our air raid sirens and things of that nature? It was as if we just let our guard down completely and thought, it's never going to be a problem again.
Yep. Not just the physical defenses, like the military defenses and the warning systems, which we do still have some in place through emergency broadcast systems and so on, and stuff that goes out over the internet to some degree, although now they're banning news on on social media. So I don't know how they're going to get information out to people effectively, but that's another story. But we've let our guard down politically as well, where we became way too complacent. We just expected these politicians would, as I say, pick up our garbage and we wouldn't have to worry too much about it and just go to the polls, every few years and elect our representatives and just let them take care of stuff. Well, this is where we've ended up, because we've been electing people who, through lack of scrutiny, have become corrupt, greedy. They've exploited the situation and led us down a path to extreme danger.
And
This
they
is where we're
don't
at.
give a fuck about you.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.